Welcome to the Social Chameleon Show, where it's our goal to help you learn, grow, and transform into the person you want to become. Today, we want to talk about digital addiction. Let me set the scene here a little bit here. I don't want to come off as somebody that's not about the technology, because I'm all about the technology. I got a digital wedding ring. I got digital everything. I got digital light bulbs, thermostats, Google Homes, all over the place. I love technology. Technology is great. I think technology is really able, to do a lot of things we do. I mean, it makes the show possible. We're across the country. There's so much to it, but what I want the show to be about, this episode to be about, is you being in control of these digital things and not them being in control of you. And that's really, it's very easy. And we'll get into talk about a little bit more about the science and the psychology and stuff behind it. But it's easy for these technologies, these apps, these things to control you and start to take over your time. And you become a slave to the technology versus the technology working for you. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that as we get started here, but.
No, I mean, that's true though. I mean, you think about it, like, I guess when I became a realtor, right? I mean, you were there that day, the very first, I don't know, we're giving away our age, but anyway, very first iPhone came out.
Yeah.
Like, I was super excited, right? Remember I brought it over to your house and like, we're like using the crap out of that thing. Like, I think we killed the battery. Like 2 hours, something like that, maybe less than that. Because we're like,
we were going one for one between my BlackBerry and your iPhone. Like, what can yours do? Can you just do this? Can you do this? And
do this, going back, and like all this cool stuff. And like, so sure, there's joys in our life and stuff like that. But I got that phone for the purpose of being a realtor. And, it's funny how, I guess the reason you kind of start things, like when I was a realtor, I was like, I can work on my own time. I mean, like, I don't have to work the regular 9 to 5, but when you have stuff like technology and smartphones, like, you actually end up working more.
Yeah.
Work 8 hours a week. You can work 16 hours, 20 hours a week, because guess what? When you go home, you got this thing in your hand and you're like, and 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. But I mean, after 6-10 minute emails, that's an additional work hour.
Yeah.
You can do that anywhere, at the store, at home, while you're driving. Don't do that.
Please stop.
But it's possible.
Yeah.
All possible, because technology is now in the palm of your hand. It's crazy.
And it's funny that you say that. I've really made a huge habit of turning it off. I mean, even I'd say we were about a half an hour behind today because my phone was off. Right. And I was like, man, what's up with Ransom? I'm like, oh crap, my phone's off. I look at my phone, and half an hour earlier you had messaged me,
Right.
So, but this allows me, and I've found, and I, like I said, I love tech. I love the highest, latest and greatest gadgets, but, I've really made a habit to not let the technology rule my life and stop me and distract me. I'm Captain Distraction. Squirrel. Wait, what? And, half an hour later, I'm like, where the hell? What? How am I on YouTube watching lions kill gazelles? I'm like, what the fuck just happened? So
supposed to be working on this project.
Right, yeah. I was looking something up, and next thing you know, right. But this is the thing. I really spent a lot of effort getting out of that mode, and this is what I kind of want to talk about, today. And some different techniques and different things that we've gone through. I want to kind of set the stage here a little bit with some things and different studies and stuff that have come out. Doing research and through, not just for this episode, but, I'm always kind of interested in this, what's going on in this space, especially the psychological aspect of it. So I want to go through a couple of quick little facts. Some of these things like just absolutely blow my mind, and a little maybe disheartening in a way. It really is like, God, this is really quite kind of sad how these things are kind of turning out. So I think we talked about this on a previous episode. I can't quite remember which episode it was, but they say about 40% of your productive time at work is spent multitasking. So if, we talked about multitasking in the past, and it's really a fallacy. It's not true. Your brain can't be concentrating on more than one task at a time. Yes, we can be doing tasks that are unconsciously competent things. We all know we've been able to drive if you've driven for quite a while and talk on the phone. And you can do that because you've been unconsciously competent driving. Now, the thing is, you're not really paying full attention to both of those tasks. You're either paying full attention to that conversation, or you're kind of just hearing the conversation because something's happening as you're driving. And you can really, to me, that's a really prime example of, all of a sudden something's happening, your attention goes to driving, and the person's still talking, and then you're like, wait, what were we talking about? Because, you're not actually paying attention. That's a good, and a lot of people argue, like, I can multitask all the time. Look at all these things I do. And it's like, what's really happening is just doing things. You're not fully doing them each. You're not giving your attention to each of that. And that really kind of leads into another thing. And there's a couple different things out there, but it takes about 23 minutes and 15 seconds when you switch tasks to get back to where you were originally in that thought pattern and process in the task that you moved from.
While you're talking and driving, it's not going to take you 23 minutes to get back into a conversation, but
to get back to that mental space that you were in. So like, you're working, you're on a project, you're working, putting your slides together, and it's like, and then somebody texts you, and then you grab that and you start going that. So that type of action to get back to that thought process and that train of thought and the flow you were in, you're looking at 23 minutes because that one little thing distracted you. And 99.9% of the time that it was pointless, and I heard this really cool thing this guy does. I'm trying to figure out how to set it up my phone, but when somebody calls him, he has an automatic text message that goes and says, I'm busy. If this is urgent, then text me urgent. He said, I have never gotten an urgent text ever. I was like, that's pretty pimp. I was like, that's one little cool little hack. I know people do like different email things and stuff and whatever.
I can do the, like, I'm busy away at meetings, whatever. I'll get back to the office at 2:00.
Yeah.
And I'll call you then, whatever.
Right. I don't do that. I just don't check my email, and I'll respond when I
just fucking don't do anything.
Yeah. I don't, I check my email already for today, and I'll get you to tomorrow. And that's just the way it goes. But see, what happens is, people have come to expect that I'm not going to respond to my email, and then that goes on to the next thing I found, that 70% of all emails are opened within 6 seconds of receiving it.
Yeah.
It's like, that's insanity.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, because I remember when I worked at Bank of Hawaii, right, it's just customer service.
Right.
You're sitting there answering the phone call per se, but as you're talking to the person, like your email's coming in, you can check that email right there as you're working, right? It's multitasking per se.
Yeah.
But, but you have that ability to check it, like, because you're at your desk.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the notification comes up and you click it. Like as soon as that thing, so whatever you're doing, it's over now because you've seen the notification pop up and then you're clicking it. And now you're into something else and a different task. And then, and I know we talked about in the past, like, the average person, I guess it depends which country you're in, they work anywhere from about 1.5 hours to 2 hours a day of actual work.
Yeah. Work.
Right. Actual work. Most of it's just responding to things and being distracted. And then, whether it's being distracted with the email or being distracted with the internet or whatever it is. And then it just becomes this big, distraction here. So, and that's why, like, I've had meetings with people in the past and they're like, this is great. Like your attention was fully here the whole time. And like you never got an email or notification, nothing ever happened. And I'm like, yeah, I turned it off. And it's off to begin with. And then they're just like surprised. Like I had it happen with a few clients. They're like, oh, it's crazy. Like you didn't get a phone call or text or email or anything the whole time we were in a meeting. And I'm like, yeah. Well, and then what's happened to them is they're like, oh yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. My grandma. Like, you could have waited 20 minutes,
texting back that fast.
Yeah. And then that kind of leads into the next thing that really was astounding to me. And it says, Americans are viewing their smartphones more often than before, on average 52 times a day. So that's the average. So I'm sitting here at 10. Somebody's at 100. So we can get to 52. And I've even heard things as high as people checking Instagram upwards of 400 to 600 times a day.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah. So it says, and it kind of goes into average American checks their phone every 12 minutes. That's could you, I that just blows my mind. Like, I can't imagine every 12 minutes I'm on my phone. Like, did I get something? Did I get something? Did somebody message me? Ooh, please, dopamine, please, please, please. You know, and that's just what it comes, that's really what it comes down to. We'll get into more of the science in a little bit as we go through here.
Yeah. But I mean, and that's kind of where it's at. And again, doesn't matter what job I work, there work all kinds of jobs. You always see them. You'll see the people who are on their phone and they're just like on there, like checking it, like, and they're on the phone while they're doing whatever task it is that they're trying to do. And, I guess part of that comes from the fact that it's, I guess, like a habit that we've created over time.
Yes.
And part of it is the other part too is, right, like you have all this time, right? Most people will take this 8-hour workday and they will accomplish, like you said, they'll accomplish all the work that they need to do in that hour and a half.
Right.
The rest of the time is just filled up with stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, just depends on what jobs you have. And, for my job in the healthcare, it depends on, what the patient's demands and needs are. Sometimes we can do that, but there's days it's like, oh, we got to go here, we got to go do this, we got to do that, or something comes up and it's like, oh, we don't have that equipment, we got to go get it. Like, you never know.
Yeah, and it is job dependent. Your whole day is just distraction, right? It's just like whatever the next thing comes up, it's like, how urgent is this compared to what I'm doing? And I get that. But I still, I think it still comes back to, prioritizing these things and saying, what is urgent truly? Right. Am I the person that can handle this? Is this thing something I need to do right now? Or can this be done, by somebody else later? And that really is, like you said, it's going to depend on your job. But we can also come up with these false things that we've kind of put into place.
Yeah, but I think that's the reason why we're doing this episode, right? It's just to bring out the fact that, hey, let's just call it what it is. Like, it's addiction. Like, you're looking at your phone, you're looking at Instagram 400 times a day. Like, seriously. Like, that's a lot of time to be looking at Instagram. Like, you can do other things with that time. I don't know. Everybody's relationship with their job is different. Some people love their jobs. Some people hate their jobs. Yeah. But, I'm sure that, even if you're at work, like, there are other things that you could do with your time, per se. It's like, but you choose to be on your phone, and if you're on your phone more often than not, then chances are that's an addiction. That's not something that you can just be like, oh, I can turn my phone off and put it away. Like, can you really do that? And even if you do that, do you have anxiety about it? It's like, do you constantly think like, oh, where's my phone? Like, oh, my phone's in my locker. Like, how much time do you get distracted just thinking about where your phone is?
And that's the thing that leads into two more little things that I some studies I read, that the longest time the average person was willing to be away from their phone was 4 hours. And 31% of people have anxiety about separation from their phone, and 60% experience occasional stress when their phone is out of reach or off.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. Like, that's how you know that the addiction is taking hold, right? Yeah. Same thing with any other addiction. It's like, when you don't have it, like, you constantly think about it all the time. Like, this addiction, people, let's call it what it is. Not saying that that's a bad thing. There are definitely worse addictions to have. Yeah. However, like, this is a stuff that is controlling your life, right? Technology was created to make your life easier, yet now it's making your life harder because it's becoming an obligation. Like, this is something that you are now obligated to do every day of your life because you started this habit and now you can't stop it.
Right. And then that, I guess we can, jump into the science here about this. So what this behavior is, and I'll link to the studies for you guys. You want to look at more of them, and I'll link to a great.
I think Simon talking a little bit about this on one of his. That's where I first seen it anyway. But anyway.
Yeah.
But he was referencing study too. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll link to those things, and so you guys can look more into it if you're interested. And also the science part is a great little course thing, I'll talk about a little bit more as when we get to that section of the podcast. But it really goes through this really in nice plain English, really easy to understand. It's nice to charge stuff. But what it really comes down to is variable reinforcement. So there's four different types of variable reinforcement. So there's a fixed interval schedule. There's a variable interval schedule, a fixed ratio schedule, and then a variable ratio schedule. So in the show notes, you can look at what all those different are. But what comes down to in this behavior is this variable ratio schedule. So what that is so the number of responses in a variable ratio schedule, the number of responses needed for a reward varies. This is the most powerful type of intermittent reinforcement schedule. In humans, this type of schedule is used by casinos to attract gamblers. A slot machine pays out an average win ratio, say 5-1, but does not guarantee their every fifth bet behavior will be rewarded reinforcement with a win. So this is the mechanism that they're using to get you addicted. Every time you open your phone, your texts, your Instagram, your Facebook, your Snapchat, you don't know, did somebody like me? Did somebody DM me? Did somebody comment? What is somebody doing? You have no idea. So that compulsive behavior is what makes you want to, because you never know. Like if I open it this time, is there gonna be something for me? Is there gonna be somebody that likes me, loves me, whatever it is? Am I gonna get that dopamine release? Am I gonna get that happiness? Am I gonna get that thing? And you never know. And that's the mechanism. It's just like gambling. It's just like a lot of these types of addictions that fall into this category. That's what's happening here.
Yeah. And I don't know if Simon Sinek was the one that did it, but he's just talking about this type of behavior gets introduced to children at a very young age. It's like most kids, I want to say, let's just go with the age of 2. It's probably started even younger than that.
Yeah.
Every 2-year-old I know has access to an iPhone, has access to an iPad, and they're just basically picking on this stuff and clicking on it, and it's causing chemical connections into their brain, right? Feeding them things like dopamine, right? And it's just like, oh, you get this stimulus and enjoyment from this antisocial device, basically.
Yeah.
That's just, stimulating their brain. And like you're teaching them at a young age to get addicted to certain things. And it's not regulated. It's not controlled, I guess, by federal government or whatever. But, as a parent, like these are things to like think about. Like, sure, again, technology helps us. And then, as we're talking about in some of our other episodes about sleep and stuff like that, but you're watching these iPhones and iPads late at night, that blue light is actually diminishing the sleep that you get as well. So like, there are a whole bunch of things that come with technology. And, I guess like Spider-Man, right? Like with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah. But no, that's the thing. I see a lot. I'm sure you probably see the same thing with your boy, but with my kids, I have one in elementary, one in high school. They both do not have cell phones. They do not, technology does not leave this house. And they're in the minority that does not have on-demand access to technology. And like, even this morning, I was walking, thinking about this episode coming up, and, I'm walking my boy to the bus stop, which a lot of parents think I'm just such a horrible person. And then the kids are walking to school, elementary school kids, with phones in their hand. Yes. Heads down, phones in their hand. I'm like, there's no social, these things were designed in theory and intent to make us more connected. And it has. It's amazing when you use it, when you want to use it for the reasons you want to use it for. Like this here. It's amazing. Me and Ransom and a lot of my other family and friends, we easily stay connected in this form, But, with this, what's happened and what's happening is we've become less connected. We've become less social. A lot of people talking about, the rates of depression, different things like that is because of these things, Well,
I mean, not like that, but like you just see it. Like the whole family is sitting down at the dinner table on their phone.
Yes.
Nobody's talking to each other. They're all either text messaging people, playing video games, doing things in their own little personal space and personal device, but they're not connecting with one another. And I guess getting back to the whole dopamine thing, like as kids, for us as Generation X, like we got our dopamine from actually talking to people.
Right.
Like that's where we got our responses from. It didn't come from a text message. We didn't even have this kind of stuff. Like text messaging wasn't even invented when we were kids.
Yeah.
Like nobody had that. And like even when it first came out as the two-way pager, we did have it, but nobody used it because the technology was too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's like, why would you pay $200 for that? Like that's retarded. But now it's like the standard to-go thing and all that kind of stuff. So that's basically how it would go. But I mean, it's just different. You know what I mean? Like we get our connections differently because we grew up differently. But anyone who grew up age or is raising a child into this age knows, like, hey, this is kind of how we do things. So again, we're just bringing awareness, that kind of stuff. So
right, yeah, and like I've said in the beginning of this episode, I'm all for technology. We've got all kind of stuff, but I like to encourage myself and my kids and everybody, like, put it down. Let's go outside. Let's go play. Like, when we go on short road trips and stuff, it's like they all want to bring something. No, leave it home. Who gives a shit? Look out the window. You'll be okay. And that's the thing we become scared of is boredom. Think about, I know my own behavior, and I know this from what I see as well. The second you have 4 or 5 seconds, you're standing in line somewhere, you're at a stoplight, whatever it is that you're doing, you pull out your phone. What's going on? It's like, I can't be bored for more than 3 milliseconds, and I want to bring that back. Boredom is a great tool. You guys hear me out for a second. And you think I'm Tyson, you're fucking nuts. No, you got to understand the mechanisms of boredom. This is the opportunity. That's why when you're, think of boredom like being in a shower. What happens in the shower all the time? You get all these ideas, these things start coming to your head. That's the mechanism of boredom. Your brain has a chance to just chill out, solve problems, come up with ideas, think, and that's when you get out of the shower, that all that kind of goes away. Cause it's like, I'm on to the next thing now, so utilize boredom. It's okay to be bored. Find time to purposely be bored. Let your brain relax. Let your brain wander. Let your mind wander. Let your brain help you solve problems. And then the other thing with that comes is, with this constant, distraction of the phones and constantly be on the phone, this is affecting short-term memory because you're constantly distracted. You don't have the time and ability to remember what was just happening. And then with that, you're not having the ability to consolidate those memories. And if you stack on top of that, your lack of sleep, that is also contributing to not only the short-term memory loss, also the long-term memory loss and then the memory consolidation.
Yeah. I mean, it's just basically one distraction after the other. It's like squirrel. And again, it's just the fact that these smartphones and these computers make it easy, like, to get distracted. Mm-hmm. Like, this is, again, like forming a new habit. So we're just letting people know habits that are out there. Yeah. And people, let's just be real. You're checking your phone more than 100 times a day.
I'm sure you've checked your phone and email since we've been on this episode.
Probably got something going on there. And even like the small little text messages that, are out there, that millennials do. Like, instead of texting an entire sentence, they'll text fragments. Like, oh, what are you doing? Like, oh, I was thinking about going to the mall. And then they text them, oh, but maybe we should go eat. And then, oh, maybe we should, like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Form your sentences properly. Get your whole idea across together. Like, these are the things that are kind of, contributing to communication skills and contributing to, actually saying how you're feeling, because you just kind of don't really put your thoughts together. You can kind of just fly them out in a short little fragmented sentence of a text message. Like, these are things that, if you work upon them, we can improve.
And it reminds me of a story a couple of weeks ago. My daughter, she works in the school news show for one of her classes, and then they do outside projects of school. Outside, they do interviews and different community stuff, and just like a regular news show. And so their group was trying to coordinate something, and she doesn't have a phone. So they're all standing around and they're texting each other back and forth to figure out what's happening. And then she comes home and I was like, oh, so when you, she, I don't know. Nobody can make a decision. They're all texting. We'll text you later when we all figure it out. Like they couldn't stand in a group and say, "What's your schedule like? What's your schedule like? How's Saturday? How's Thursday? How's 3:00? How's?" They locked up. They didn't know how to handle that real world situation. We'll figure it out. We'll text each other and we'll let you know.
Right.
And it's another example. We have piss poor communication. We can't do these things. And then, when you have to send it back and forth, 14 text messages and 87 emails, so you guys can get together for lunch on Thursday at 3:00. That takes up a huge amount of time. It takes up a huge amount of mental bandwidth and capital, and all these things go into not getting shit done. And then you come home from the office or work or whatever it is, and you're just wiped out because your brain is like, I've had to do so much shit today. I'm done.
Right. And it's just kind of like that whole thing about just, creating that expectation. It's like the expectation is that I don't have to commit to a time because I can text you later.
Right.
But then I guess maybe people don't realize that what's happening is like you're texting this person later, you're just creating more anxiety for yourself. Because you're not. Yeah. And then like for the 20th or 70th text message, however it takes you to create that decision, every time you send a text message, oh, well, what about Wednesday? Or what about 2:00? Or what about you're creating more and more anxiety for yourself. Like it's kind of crazy. Like this expectation that gets created because you can respond to somebody anytime actually gives you more anxiety than if you just would have committed to it and answered the question on the first 5 text messages. Anxiety done, over, committed to a schedule, you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that firsthand. Like I said, my daughter, she's at that teenage ripe age, and all this stuff is, they don't know nothing but technology. I've seen her get ready in the morning and sit in her room the entire day waiting for the plan to come together. Just flustered, just frustrated. So can I go? I'm like, when? I don't know. Where? I don't know. But if things come together, could I? I can't. I don't know. I can't make a decision. She's like, yeah, no, nobody can. And she just sits there all day, 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. And she's like, been ready since 10 o'clock in the morning.
Be like, just go,
But there's nowhere to go because nobody, I don't know. Well, I'm waiting for Tom and then Jim and then Janet's going to come. And
well, what do you want to do? You want to go to the mall? Go to the mall. And then, hey, you know what happens when you go to the mall? You text your friends. Hey, I'm at the mall.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys
for
come?
her, it doesn't work because she doesn't have a phone. So.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm just saying, like, you stir things in motion. Be like, well, I'm going to go to the mall whether you guys or not. I'll see you there.
Yeah. And then that goes back to, it's okay to be bored, be by yourself. Like,
right.
You guys want to go to the mall? That's what we talked about. I don't have a phone. Once I leave this house, I'm going to the mall. I'll be there at 2:30. I have to leave at 5:30. I'll see you guys there. And then go to the mall and be okay with nobody shows up. Maybe they show up later. I got to wander around by myself a little bit. Maybe I got to be a little bored and be okay with those different scenarios.
Then you also have the FOMO stuff, right? Fear of missing out. Well, while I'm at the mall, I'm missing out, whatever. Like, not really. You're out there doing something. Chances are, in that situation, everybody's at home waiting for somebody to make a decision.
Yeah, versus you're out there doing stuff. Or you're the people, you're the person that they're looking at on Instagram. Like, damn, wish I was out there doing that.
And it's funny that you bring up the whole thing about going to the mall without a phone, because that brings up a story about me and my son when we were like going Pokemon hunting. Again, technology is wonderful. We wouldn't have Pokemon without smartphones, but Pokemon requires you to actually take your phone with you to the location. There are ways around that, but for most people, they go actually with their phone. So we're driving around, and I don't know if anyone's been to Waikiki, Honolulu, but it's a pretty busy area. There's seldom parking, especially during peak times. So we were going there to catch Pokemon, and we were running late, so I didn't even find parking yet. And I was like, okay, son, this is what you need to do. Like, it's over there. Just go walk over there and go take my phone. And then when the Pokemon comes out, we can go catch it, and then I'll come find you. My son was freaking out. He's like, Dad, I guess maybe it clicked in his mind that by me not having my phone, it rendered his phone useless. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
He's like, how am I going to call you. Like, how are you gonna find me? I'm like, and I realized like I did this. Like, this is my doing because he has access to a phone all the time. But like you said, when we were kids, like I was like, dude, you're gonna be there for 15 minutes. Like, I'm gonna find parking, and I'll be 15 minutes, like for sure. Like, no problem. I'll drive back around. I'll honk my horn, and I'll be right here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, find a way. Like, again, this is stuff that people that grew up with a smartphone, like, they don't know what it's like to not have a phone. They don't know what it's like to, I hear Gary Vee talk about all the time too. He's like, you have no idea what it's like to go to school on Friday and hey, Tyson, come meet me at the mall on Saturday. And then like Saturday, I'm at the mall. Tyson doesn't show up. And like, I can't talk to him till Monday. It's like, you know what I mean? And then Monday you find out, my sister broke her ankle and like, we had to go to emergency. And it's like, oh, damn.
I got grounded.
Like, I got grounded or whatever. But like, you just like, if you're in the millennial age, you don't know what that's like. No idea what that's like. Anyway.
No, that's good. I mean, that's, I'm firm against my kids, even a teenager getting a phone, because I want these skills. I'm trying to, and it's hard because they're like, you're dumb. It's like one day you'll thank me when you can navigate and somebody's not there and you don't know what to do. And it's like, what happens if you're not here in 15 minutes? Just wait longer. Fuck, but
that's the kind of things that technology creates all these expectations.
Right? So that's the thing. I want to try and like part of this show, like let's put ourselves in these advantageous situations. Let's put ourselves in these things that we fear. Like, what is wrong? Are you so scared that you can't navigate the world anymore without your phone? Leave it home today. You'll be just fine.
That's true.
Guaranteed. You might actually come home alive.
That's true.
And it's joking aside, but these are things that are real. I've seen different studies and different things about people, like we're talking about FOMO. Being on vacation on Instagram, seeing what's going on back home. Like, damn, am I missing out on anything? You're on vacation. They're missing out. You're not. And people sit by the pool in Cabo and they're like, oh, what's going on? Oh, Tom's having a barbecue? Shit. No, Tom, everybody wants to be where you are. Like, stop. Like, it's okay, But it's, set yourself up in these situations. Take the day or take some time. And what are you scared of? What is it you think you're going to miss? What is it you think is going to happen? Like, set yourself up. We just don't know. Something can happen. All the fucking cell phone towers in your city goes down. Like, if you already practice this, you are prepared. Shit pops off and there's a war, civil uprising, whatever it is, you are prepared. If you lose your job, and you are prepared. You've practiced this. When times are good, we've talked about this before. When times are good, practice the shit you think you're scared of. What are you so scared of? Practice these things now.
And I guess this, for us, as we bring things to a close, just kind of want to put things in perspective, I guess, for me in my life and what's been going on. A really good friend of mine lost his father recently. And, it kind of affected me a lot because he's kind of like a father to me too. Like, I was in high school, like I was at his house like every weekend. And like his dad would always be yelling at us and telling us to do stuff. And, very awesome man. Built a lot of character into me as a person and kind of developed me as a person. And, I had a really big loss last weekend for me. And, just doing this episode now, talking about digital addiction and things like that, it's like, it's just a phone. It's a digital world made up of cyberspace and things. And, I just kind of guess maybe it's just the place that I'm at right now. It's just like, in today's world, we need a lot more human connection, like people talking to one another, like looking each other in the face and shaking hands, giving hugs, and, being with each other physically, like next to each other, like to be their support. Like there is a connection to the phone. I'm not going to lie. Having a text message or, video call can help substitute human contact, but it's not a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
Even, for me, just going to see his family when we're all in the living room praying, doing the rosary. For those who are Catholic, you know what that feels like. There's just something about a presence when all of the family is there together for one purpose, and we all share a connection beyond a computer or beyond the telephone. Like just physically standing next to somebody, you can feel the energy of that person. And, I just, again, maybe this is just a place where I'm at right now, but like there is no replacement for that energy connection and the connections that you get being next to a human being. As much as we want to try and do that with technology and FaceTime and text messaging, like, yes, it's a good substitute, but it's no substitute. You can't replace the real thing. So I guess for me, I kind of just wanted to end on that note. I don't know, anything else you got to end this episode? Or
hey, well, thank you for sharing. I know that was a big loss. I feel it too. He did play a huge role in our lives, and he had great lessons and stuff. But I did want to end on some techniques, things that helped me. Cool. I want you guys to take action. I want this. We talked a lot about the psychology. We talked about the statistics, these different things that are happening. Now let's work on the addiction part. If you really have a severe problem with addiction, this is not addiction counseling. We're not counselors. There are severities of these things. You can get into different types of addictions, whether, it's in games, on your phone, with pornography and different types of things like that. Gambling. There's a lot of stuff there. If you're really suffering with these things, this is an addiction on top of an addiction, go seek professional help. There's something in your city. A lot of times, insurance companies can take care of this. The state has funded programs that really, it may cost you nothing. Please look into that. With that said, something that really helped me was one, meditation. Now this sounds crazy, Tyson, a little woo-woo. Not, it don't got to be like that. But what happened was, I wasn't from that camp too. I'm like, listen, I ain't into that. I got shit to do. I ain't got 20 minutes for this shit, But what I found was when I took the time to say, there's something here, I keep hearing it, I got to give this a run. What I noticed is, I noticed what I was doing. And it sounds crazy, but just like this morning, I was reading, for whatever reason, something caught my eye on my computer, and 20, 30 minutes later, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And that's something that I found I developed with meditation. It's like, what are you doing? And I'll be on my phone, and I have, when I had that compulsion to scroll, I'd be like, what are you doing? And I never had that before, that awareness, that, the watcher watching kind of thing, And so that's a tool for you guys. Another thing that really kind of broke my addiction was, I don't know if it was the beginning of the year, end of this year, whatever it was, somewhere around that time. With the last episode we put out in the beginning of the year, I deleted all these apps from my phone. I did all the social media, all the stuff. Either disabled it or deleted it, whatever I could do, for one entire week. Now, the first few days was kind of hard because that habit's there. Like, oh, what's going on? And I do business things on Instagram, on Facebook, on these things. And there were some limitations. Only I found a limitation within Instagram. I had to play with a few different desktop, laptop kind of computer apps to kind of figure through some things, but I got it to do what I had to do. And at the end of that week, by about day 2.5, day 3, I was just like, that compulsion was kind of gone. That thing was kind of gone, even though I wasn't a very heavy user to begin with. And then I was like, okay, time's up. What should I do? And I'm like, what do I need to reinstall? Nothing. I put back Instagram because it's hard to message people. And then I needed Facebook for something I can't remember, but that's it. Everything else stayed off and has been off and has never come back on. And I just use all web-based things when I schedule time to get on these apps. I take a few minutes, whatever it is, 10, 15 minutes I schedule. I go in there, I check the messages, most times just once a week, and I'm out.
Yeah. And then even
not in control of me anymore.
Right. And then I don't know if there's apps and stuff like that, but I know for like Apple products and stuff like that, like you can control, it's called screen time.
Yeah.
Like you can control how much screen time like people actually get. And maybe, techniques like you can't go cold turkey. Believe me, going cold turkey on anything, whether it's smoking, drinking,
stuff.
Digital addiction, whatever, it can be rough. Like just limit yourself. Like, okay, I got 30 minutes of screen time every day and I got to do what I got to do and get off. And that's it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Android, you've got to have one of the newer operating systems, but they do have those things on there. Apple has, I was a couple of updates back. They had maybe about a year ago now. They added that stuff within Instagram and within Facebook app. You can go in there, and I highly recommend going there. Look at how much time you're spending on it now. It'll show you a chart each day, your average. I have each of mine set for 15 minutes. I almost never hit it. I think my average is like 7 minutes, and it's just real quick. I jump in, check my messages, and I'm out. So set those up. Go in your phone. Look at what the most used apps you have now. It'll tell you, especially on iPhone, as long as you have it decently updated. And Android, if you've got the last few versions, you'll have something in there that shows your most used apps. And go in there and look at them. Look how much time you're spending on each of those apps. And set yourself a limit, say an hour and a half on Instagram. All right, let me back this down to 45 minutes, and free up time in your day, stop being humble and slave. There's different techniques to this stuff. Those are the two things that really worked for me. Do you have any experience with any of that you want to share at all?
No, again, I didn't grow up with this addiction, so it's not embedded in me from a kid. Like I can go days without my phone. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, you're really good.
Bother me. And I'm just the type of person where I'll just adapt. Like if I don't use my phone, I'll do something else. Or, the other thing that I think about when I don't use my phone is like, what is your time worth? Mm-hmm. You're checking Instagram 52, or maybe you're that person that checks Instagram 400 times a day. Like, go check that out. See how much time you actually spend on Instagram. Who knows? Could be spending like more time than you would. Maybe you spend like 5 hours a day on Instagram. Like, what could you do with that 5 hours? Could you start another job? Could you make more money? Could you actually take time to go spend with people you care about and friends that you never see? Like we all have the same amount of time on this earth. Resources are abundant, but time is all the same for all of us. You're going to spend the next 30 minutes on Instagram? Or are you going to spend the next 30 minutes doing something that's going to improve your life or be more productive? And those are the kind of things I think about. It's like, I don't need to be looking at this stuff. I got things I need to take care of today. So that's kind of a technique that helps me. It's like, what is your time actually worth? What could you be doing it with? Who could you be spending that time with? How could you better your life with that next 30 minutes other than XYZ?
Absolutely. So, yeah. No, that's perfect. That's things, lessons I learned as well. If you're looking for some things to help you, with some of these things that we're talking about, check out this month's giveaway. Go to socialchameleon.show/pickme. See what we got. We do all kinds of different things, books and courses, different types of bundles and different things that we got going on. There's probably just 1 or 2 more giveaways at the time this airs before we head into the holiday season when we start giving back. We'll talk more about that later. But if you want to see what we got going on, we're always in there trying to find things for you guys to help you guys become these things, to do these different things we talk about. socialchameleon.show/pickme. See what we got going on for this month's giveaway. And then different links and stuff to that things we talk about here. I will link to some of those studies that I talked about in the beginning. If you want to go on a deep dive like me, I enjoy running down rabbit holes. This great little course I found on Lumen Learning. It's basic principles of operant conditioning, Thorndike's law of effect. It's a great course. It really breaks this down, that variable ratio we were talking about earlier. and you can get in there and you can really learn a lot about this. I think once we come aware of these things, we recognize them. Now, just because you're aware of it is not going to mean you're immune to it. It just gives you the ability to say, oh, I see what's going on here. Variable ratio schedule here. I know what's happening. I understand. Go in there and check the link out. Books is a fun little book. If you're looking for the little bit more of a wean off, kind of not a cold turkey approach like I did, How to Break Up With Your Phone. It's a 30-day plan. Quick little key point to the book here is more and more people the world over are becoming addicted to their phones, and it really is a form of addiction. Social media developers are partly to blame. They engineer apps around this principle. Addiction such as this can be detrimental to your attention span, memory, and quality of sleep. Consequently, it's well worth breaking up with your phone, or at the least reducing the time you spend on it. You finally will have the time for real life experiences like we talked about, and the space to get started on lifelong projects and dreams. That's a quick little key point of that book. Another book, it's really good on this idea, Deep Work, Cal Newman. Thinking in Bets, we'll also be doing that as episode 75 book review. If you want to learn more about those books and what they're about, head over to socialchameleon.show, get into this episode, and see those links there. And then anything else that you want to talk about with those things, Ransom?
It's good, man.
Perfect. And then this week's challenge. Sounds crazy. You're going to think I'm dumb, but I want you to go into your phone. I want you to look at your most used apps and delete them all. Delete all your social media apps, delete your email client, disable it, whatever you got to do. Delete it for 1 week. You'll thank me later. Mm-hmm. You will not die. I guarantee it. That's the challenge. Take back your life. Break the addiction. Do not be a slave to Instagram, to your phone, to these app developers, to your emails. Get in there, delete all your social media apps and or disable them, whichever way works for your phone. Find all your other most used apps and get rid of them. Nice. Go do that.
It's taking us to our final thoughts. We're always here about bringing awareness to people and to things that are going on, and just another awareness. If you weren't aware that it's an addiction, now you're aware. This is the time to actually think about it. Like, am I addicted? Maybe I am. Maybe I should do something about that. Maybe I'm more than just the digital image of myself floating around there in the cloud somewhere. After all, it's just a phone, guys. That's all it is. Tiny out of plastic with microchips and sensors and cameras on it. So it's a phone.
Yeah.
Ain't no thing. But
And if you have a friend or family member that has got a bit of an addiction, go over to their place, sit down on a couch right next to them, pull up this episode, and go through it with them.
And delete their apps.
Yes. Help them through this. Get there, get in person, get out there. Let's bring back, recapture, reignite your friendship, your family connection, whatever it is that you're looking for. Get over there, get to these people. You want to support the show in other ways, leaving likes and reviews definitely help. Recommending them to your friends and family, definitely great way. After your 1 week is over, with all your apps deleted, unless you schedule some time on a desktop, you can go check us out at Social Community Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube if you like the video version or your favorite podcast app. For past episodes and links to everything we talk about here today, you can visit socialchameleon.show. And until next time, get off your damn phone, keep learning, keep growing, and transforming into the person you want to become.